Hello there. My name is Rendi, and this is Man versus RuneScape. Today we will delve into, once again, something that consists of me having to do real-life activity to complete a RuneScape goal. But before we get into any of that today, I wanted to make a quick announcement. I'm making a solely dedicated real-life channel. I'll put that in the description below because I've had a lot of you asking me, where's the real-life content, Rendi? Go down in the description below and subscribe to that channel. There will be a first release on this channel as well today, going over the intro to this channel and the behind the scenes for the Dead Only Hardcore Iron Man video that premiered on this channel just a few months ago. So what are we doing here today? Well, over my time in RuneScape I've achieved many things. I even have an account now which is basically extinct, being the level 3 Combat Fire Cape account. But I was always missing one achievement and one thing on this account, as well as all of my other accounts. There is this thing called player moderatorship, and you get this nice silver looking crown next to your username, as well as the ability to mute players every 24 hours. And that, my friends, is power in the finest. So I myself already have many of the qualifications to be a player moderator. I have good community standing. I've even won this award from Jagex for my wonderful endeavors with the community. And 2, I've become a model for success in always following these rules and never breaking a rule on RuneScape. But I still needed that third thing. I needed to enforce these rules upon others. And therefore, I would need to find as many people as I could to report in order to show my worth to Jagex that I in fact could be their dog. I devised a plan. I was going to make a full-scale surveillance camera of the entire city of Varrock, the largest city in Gielinor, and the one most susceptible to crime and high treason in RuneScape. But real quick, before we delve into this long story about how I would fast-track my way into becoming a player moderator, I wanted to address one topic. Many people have asked me, well Rendi, isn't it easy as a content creator to find rule breakers? Well, yes it is. In fact, that might be one right there.
Bro, want a video idea? Me and the boys make 10 grand a day scamming and luring and selling illegal services. Want to know how to do it?
No, but really, the problem with this is I don't know these people's usernames. This is because they're contacting me from an anonymous Discord account for clout, and likely as well, that means everything they're saying is complete bullshit and false. So like I said before, the only real way to track down these people, and quick, while in-game, is with some Big Brother Illuminati type shit. A mass surveillance system for Varrock. So to begin, I had to ask myself 2 questions. 1, how would I go about surveilling the city? And 2, what would I deem as the city of Varrock in this surveillance? Well, to start with the first question, I would first have to realize how many tiles out I could see other players and NPCs for each of my accounts I was to set up in Varrock. And yes, when I say accounts, I'm talking about making multiple accounts, dozens of accounts, in order to see every player in Varrock. This is because I found out there is a 15 tile range from any direction that you can see other players or NPCs, unless in a very special instance. But of course, we are in Varrock, so we don't get that perk of extra vision here. That means every account I will log into in order to surveillance Varrock will have 15 tiles in front, diagonal, behind, left, or right of that character to see players in his general area. This equals out to a 30 by 30 tile square, or otherwise known as 900 total visible tiles per account. So I took this knowledge of player render distance to a very sophisticated program, otherwise known as Microsoft Paint. Now each of my proposed accounts would be sitting in the middle of these yellow squares, and this meant I would need upwards of 25 accounts in order to prepare the entire city of Varrock for surveillance. Now I could go further out of Varrock, but technically I only deemed what the city was as the part inside of the gate. As well, a lot of these areas are P2P, such as the lumberyard, so I could not even surveillance them in World 1 even if I wanted to. But here is successfully monitored 25 accounts at once. How would I report all of these accounts? How would I set up the viewing for these accounts? And lastly, how would I just basically get that true security monitor feeling when looking at Varrock? So after finally completing all of my research and figuring out how I would exactly go about surveillancing the entire city of Varrock, I realized the first step was investing in the proper hardware. So as you can see, just for this project I invested in 2 whole computers and a wide range of monitors, all to imitate the surveillance style security cameras we all see in the movies, but this time on Runescape. But the most important part was keeping these PCs cool, because I would be needing a lot of processing power and the temps on my PC seemed to be going up as quick as could be. Therefore, I went out and bought some ice packs to actually place next to these computers. So now that I had 2 PCs, it actually almost got me over the entire hurdle of how would I log into all of these accounts at once. Well, I had the processing power now to both record and log into these accounts with these 2 PCs, but an added benefit was, ever since November of 2019 in the first dupe, Jagex implemented a patch to where you cannot log into more than 10 accounts in one world on one IP. So now that I had 2 PCs, I could use an ExpressVPN app on one PC with split tunneling to only select certain clients to have a new IP. Then I could have 10 other accounts on my normal IP. And then on the second computer, I could have yet accounts, equaling out to 5 on the split VPN tunnel, 10 on my normal IP, and 10 on yet another ExpressVPN application. And no, this is not a paid promotion. I actually needed to do this or find a proxy in order to log in to these 25 accounts. So after being able to log in, I finally began creating all of these accounts and therefore logging into them and completing the tutorial. But there was one problem. After spending hours on completing the tutorial on 25 accounts, well, I got locked out of every single one of them, and I never even registered an email to them. Therefore, I couldn't even unlock them, and I had just wasted hours in creating these accounts. So after I personally got locked out of all of my 25 accounts, I realized something. I already had 25 accounts that I could log into. There were many projects of mine which have failed for low-level combat completions of quests and all different kinds of things over the years. So anyways, it was decided that I would gather up all of my odd and ugly accounts and send them straight to Varrock to become a greater good for the entire city.
Scuffed chest bra.
After finally being able to gather all of my accounts and confuse the fuck out of many people at Varrock West Bank, I would then need to send these accounts to the respective areas.
You better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why.
Rendi's ugly account
Just coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty or nice.
Rendi
Just come to town.
Rendi
Just come to town.
Rendi Mento
Just coming to town. He sees when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake.
So I would have all of these accounts in the middle of each of my squares mapped to Varrock, so I could see every player around me. Or could I? Well, the viewing wasn't perfect. There were clients all over the screen, mini-maps in the way, and my computers were, well, literally dying. So I did the unthinkable. I decided to download a cheat client, otherwise known as OpenOSRS, but you're not actually breaking the rules unless you use certain plugins on these clients. So we're good. I went to the admin tools, which are not accessible on RuneLite, and the first thing I did to these accounts to make the viewing just a little bit better was to put on detached camera. Now I could have gone and annoyed Mod Acorn or another J-Mod for 25 orbs of Oculus, but I had figured just using this client would be a much better option. And detached camera has literally the exact same functionality as an orb of Oculus. Next, I would limit my global FPS on each of these clients to under 20. So that means my security camera footage wouldn't be the greatest quality and have the highest frames per second, but hey, that's pretty much every security camera in existence. And I would find a better solution to this quality problem later on. Next, I would then hide my minimap, change my Runescape client to the resizable mod. Lastly, I need to address the clutter on the screen and how I will go about making this feel like a real security camera experience. Most CCTV setups have different angles of cameras that will flash between different monitors. So I would use OBS to achieve what I really wanted. I wanted a full screen projection on each of these 4 screens, and the location on each of these screens would be determined by the location in Varrock to which accounts and therefore which quadrant of the city each screen would show. I would achieve this by separating out 2 scenes from 2 different OBS programs on 2 different computers, and each scene would be a different projected monitor view for different sources, which I could hide and make visible with yet another program which I am very familiar with nowadays, called Board. Board is basically a touchscreen wireless stream deck with even more functionality. With this software, I am able to program custom OBS buttons. And I can even add nice little customizable pictures such as this from sections of the Varrock world map to distinguish the locations and functionality of each button. So by writing the functionality into each of these buttons, I can show each portion of the map relative to the screen and location for each monitor. I would then download the actual Board Stream Deck application to my touchscreen laptop in order to give it touchscreen functionality where I could switch between these different sources and buttons that could macro different switches between different cameras, which would automatically switch every 10 seconds on my viewing monitors. Okay, so I programmed a touchscreen button application through Board and OBS that'll show me specific locations on each of my monitors. For example, here on the bottom left, I have 6 different bottom left categories of Varrock programmed to be able to be touch compatible and move between those screens. Finally, I will address the problem of having low quality footage and low FPS on these clients. To do this, I would have yet another secondary client, but this time on my laptop to switch between in order to look for different suspicious activity close up, so I could get a first-hand view of what exactly was happening at that location in the city on yet another account. To report users, I would sometimes use this scout account on the laptop to go up to them and report them in game, but for the less interesting users, I would sometimes just write their names on a notepad and prepare these names to be sent to tipoff@jagex.com, where all RuneScape rule breakers can be reported. So now that I could finally be the largest rat in Varrock, I would sit down and conduct this entire surveillance in a 24-hour period. got a real world trader in Varrock World 1 right now. Let's go get him.
Yeah man, Inferno capes are good and Mona 7Y. Last week I sold like 10 Inferno capes for like over 100 grand each.
Wow, that sounds like you're lying.
I'm literally making $1 million an hour right now.
Shut the hell up. Give me money.
So was not only the first person I found an Inferno cape seller, but he was also a real world trader, a hacker, and a scammer. But the craziest thing was, this guy was making $1 million an hour. Mine were random bots advertising websites at the GE, or the occasional scammer at the GE who was possibly doubling money, or even performing games of chance. I in fact got so sick of these people and being at the GE on my surveillance camera that I just went ahead and reported as many people as I could find.
Report it! 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 Report it!
I even found myself reporting one guy who was throwing a snowball at another person, because in some areas of the world, this could be considered assault. And there is a rule on the RuneScape rulebook called breaking real world law, and technically, this would be breaking that real world law.
That's assault, brother.
As soon as the illegal activity in the Grand Exchange finally started to go down, other areas of Varrock almost coincidentally began to flare up with possible criminal intent. Near the Blue Moon Inn, I saw one guy who looked like he was attempting to splash on an NPC, but the problem was he wasn't even attacking it, and therefore this could only have one conclusion: he was macroing, and therefore breaking the rules.
Hello.
You have been banned.
Speaking of macroing, I also found a lot of these people who looked like bots inside the Varrock West Bank. Bots specifically don't customize their character's outfit, and stick with the default outfit as seen with these three people here. Therefore, they deserve to be reported for possible macroing. Next, I found some e-daters in the middle of Varrock Square, and if you did not know, dating in RuneScape is actually a rule. So I started my extermination plan and began reporting as many e-daters as possible. After this crazy instance, I even found something else unbelievable. There were actual gang members inside of Varrock, and gangs have extremely high crime rates, meaning likely if these people were gang members in the game, they were also gang members in real life, and therefore they were also likely breaking real world law and therefore RuneScape law.
Reported.
Wanna join a real gang, kid?
Something else insane I came across in the game, and honestly inspiring, was I saw a wedding happening. I haven't seen this actually happen since the real 2007 scape, but people were role-playing and getting married inside the Varrock Chapel. And this was not just any couple. It was a gay, homosexual couple. This is inspiring to see, because this might even be the first gay RuneScape wedding, and this could be an extremely historic moment that I just randomly, out of pure chance, caught on camera. But do you know what else? In some countries, gay marriage is still illegal, and I do not know the exact country of origin anyone in this audience is from. Therefore, I'm going to have to go ahead and report everyone here for breaking real world law once again. After spending around 18 hours surveillancing the city, I had counted over 500 names that I had added to my list, and over probably another 100 names I directly reported in-game. I was making a breakthrough, and I was possibly even revolutionizing the RuneScape rulebook with some of my reports. But the night still was not over. There was yet one of the most unbelievable things I have ever witnessed in my life to come up on my security camera surveillance system, and I will just let that one speak for itself. Halfway through this MAGA rally, I realized something terrifying. The leader of this rally was none other than my good friend, Chest Bra.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the
Rock Castle
to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Our country is going to hell.
Waldo is a Democrat.
Reported.
As soon as my 24-hour surveillance had concluded, I had a list of over 900 account names, and I was ready to send them to tipoff@jagex.com. That is, until I started smelling an odd odor. I looked over, and my entire computer on the left side, consisting of my unsaved notepad, was, well, completely on fire. What the fuck? My computer! Oh my god! Oh my god. But the worst part was, I wasn't even done composing the email to Jagex. So, 90% of these disgusting, rule-breaking scumbags would be walking free the next day. But this was not the end of our story. I logged in the next day on my secondary computer, which had not yet caught on fire, and to my surprise, I found a bright and shiny crown next to my name. As it turned out, the small amount of names I reported in-game were still enough. Or were they? Hey you! Don't go anywhere yet. If you haven't already, check out all my active social media links in the description below. Check out that second channel I was talking about, which is going to be completely IRL content. And of course, subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video. We're going to be going full-time again this year, already I know, so expect another upload from me on this channel in less than 2 weeks from today. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all then.